Welcome to the GCNTech Clinic, where we aim to answer your bike and tech-related questions. As ever, you can submit your questions down below in the comments section using the hashtag AskGCNTech, and we'll do our best to answer as many of them as possible within the allotted time.
Right, I don't want to waste our time. First question is from Adam-We2BD. Hi guys, I'm currently running an 11-34 cassette on my bike. I'm planning to change to an 1130. Do I still need to use the spacer from the 1134 cassette on the free hub for the other cassette? Many thankies.
Well, I'm guessing you're using a 12-speed cassette.
We can only assume.
But so there's slight nuances here. So if you're using a 12-speed cassette and you're using them on 11-speed free hub bodies, they come with this on Shimano, they come with this very thin little spacer that goes behind the cassette just to kind of sort it out.
Yeah.
And in which case, yeah, you would still use that little spacer there. If you're using an 11-speed cassette, then you might not, need that spacer on there at all if it's an 11-speed free hub.
I've had a bit of trial and error with this basically. I think it kind of varies on the larger the cassette sizes. Sometimes they do have a spacer in the back which you need to just bring the cassette out, but you'll soon realise whether you're missing the spacer or not when you go to tighten it up, because you'll find that it doesn't bite, the lock ring doesn't bite onto the cassette.
Yeah, and then what you'll find with all the sprockets on and the full cassette on and the lock ring on, you've got play, and you'll just be able to grab the biggest sprocket and just move it a little bit.
All right.
So yeah, trial and error it, but hopefully that helps.
Next up, who we got?
The Allyist.
Yeah.
Who says, "Hi Manon and gents.
That's us.
I use my cyclocross bike for all my non-mountain bike rides, and I have 2 different wheel sets for different conditions.
Very fancy.
Newman SLR 36, SLXR 36 for cross, and Zip 303s for road and gravel. And they're both set up with the same brake discs, but every time I swap the wheels, I have to recenter the discs in the calipers. Is this typical or normal? I was hoping to use one set as cyclocross pit wheels. Is there anything I can do to avoid recentering every time I swap?"
It is a common problem. It's blooming annoying. We're quite often changing wheels between bikes. Sometimes you're lucky and they switch straight over, sometimes you're not. But there is a solution to this, and it's a lot easier if you're using 6-bolt rotors rather than centre lock ones, because you can then space them out ever so slightly. So you need to set the calipers centralised for the wheels and the rotors which is furthest outboard from the bike, and then you can space the other rotor out. You also have the option, if your wheels are centre lock hubs, that you could get a little converter and then run a 6-bolt rotor and then try and space it out. There's tiny little shims which you can get, but it's an absolute pain of a job.
It is a pain.
Yeah, sorry.
Simon Mickelson is next, who says, "Hi tech team, when riding waxed chains in the winter, how do you maintain it? What should you do when you get home for a ride with wet roads? Just wipe the chain off? And how do you prevent rust when there is salt on the roads? Rinse the chain and then wipe it down? Thanks in advance."
I think there's an easy fix here. Remove the question mark from your question, because you've kind of half answered it yourself. You are right, yeah. Wipe your chain off to dry it off as best as you can. If you're worried about the salt and grit that might be on the chain, give it a little rinse off with some clean water and then get it dry.
Yeah.
Reapply your drip-on wax and you're ready to go.
A great thing to just have is loads of microfiber towels.
Yeah.
Because that's the best thing to wipe off your chain with, is a microfiber. You can buy microfibers in bulk, in big packs, online and stuff. And yeah, I just have blooming loads of them. And then I have a set that are I dedicate them to different things. So I have my chain ones, and I just recycle those.
You're
ones.
so organised, aren't you?
No.
Do you have them labelled and folded up?
No, they're colour coordinated.
Do you iron them?
No.
No. Right,
if you iron a microfiber, it melts.
Oh, that's actually a really good point. Yeah, joke's on me there. Right, Imi06 next. Dear Ollie and Alex, you have successfully convinced me to take the plunge into waxing my chain.
Yes!
How long can I store a wax chain without it losing its favourable properties? For as long as you like, I think. It takes quite a lot of time to treat initially. They're thinking of doing multiple chains in one go, so they can just switch between chains. Also, is it worth waxing the quick links as well? Thanks for your work. So I think, yeah, you can wax as many chains as you like in one go. The they're not going to degrade over time. You just need to make sure you store them the same way you would store a normal chain, if you ask me. And I think that's perfectly fine. And if you want to wax the quick links, that's great, but it's not like super crucial. You could just put a little drop of the drip-on wax on when you put the chain on. Simple solution there.
One thing I would do though is if you do wax a bunch of chains in bulk, which is something I do, it's a great thing to do, is make sure that, well, it's two things. First thing, I would run them in as best you can before you put them on a bike, and like when you put them in storage. So a good hack to do that is to get like a metal rod or a plastic rod, like a piece of pipe, something that's like pipe shaped, and then you just like a chain, like a hand chainsaw, run the chain through it so that it rolls through, and it just breaks apart all the links, and do it both ways. Do that a bit, and it just stops it being so stiff. And like when the wax really sets and it's fresh on, it can stiff. So you do need to like run it through a bit and loosen it.
So you're just milking an upright cow then.
And then what I also would suggest you do is get like some little, freezer bags or Ziploc bags, and put the chains into those and label them what they are and like when they were done, just so you know.
Okay. Good. Next question is from user-CV3WM6JM2T. Is there a way to attach a rear rack to a carbon bike that doesn't have mount points? Yes, but you need to be careful and choose the products carefully. So there's a brand called Tailfin which make racks which go through the through axles and attach onto the seat post. Topeak also make ones which clamp onto the seat post but have minimal supports underneath, so you need to be careful with how much weight you put on them. So really it's a case of shopping around to see what products are out there that suits like what it is you're trying to actually carry on the rack.
And the other thing that I would suggest is that classic thing of putting some protective tape or like 3M film on where the strap mounts onto your carbon frame, so that if dirt and water gets in there and it doesn't rub away your paint.
Easy. Richard Wright, 2000 next. What's the best way to clean and lubricate a derailleur? Those exposed links. Is this necessary? Well, the easiest way, brush degreaser when you clean your bike, and if you're worried about the links and the pivot points in your derailleur, one drop of chain lube onto them, let it soak in, job's a good one.
Yeah. Noob Cyclist 1017 says, "Hi lovely people, I'm just curious, would there be any benefit to waxing your cassette? Like, would you gain speed or would it protect the cassette from dirt?" No. So you don't lube your cassette. I've seen people do this.
It's not necessary.
Yeah, you don't do it. It over lubes the whole system, and too much lube is bad as well because it just then attracts dirt. One of the things that actually happens when you, and I've learnt this from Josh Portner, is when you have the wax coating on your chain, the additives in that, they actually smooth out the surfaces. Oh. So it's if you imagine like the surface of the metal of the chain and the cassette are like very imperfect. When you look at them under a microscope, they look like a mountain range. Yeah. Well, all those crevices and peaks and troughs get filled in by the wax additives. And it just helps smooth out the surface of everything. So as the chain is passing over the cassette,
it's also doing that.
It will be acting on the cassette in that way as well.
Okay, fair. Right, on to our last question this week's Tech Link. I'm aware we don't want to run out of the allotted time. It's from Paul33, and they say, when a bike says it has clearance for 35mm tyres, when you fit in the max tyre size, how much clearance should you have between the tyre and the frame at its nearest point? Well, there is no set measurement here. You just need to have clearance for... make sure no little stones and debris are going to get dragged around by the tyre and scratch up your frame, or worst case, damage it.
Yeah, I would just be, like if you're riding a bike off-road, you need a gap because of that, because of the debris. And if you're riding on-road in dry conditions, having a small gap is, well, some say it's beneficial aerodynamically.
Oh, I knew you'd get aero in there.
But it's just a case of make sure that it's not rubbing. Yeah. And if it's rubbing, it'll damage your frame. And also just be aware of, like, sometimes people, when it's in the stand, it's not rubbing, but when you go and ride it outdoors, because of little bits of flex in the wheel or the frame, especially if you get out the saddle, it can then rub in those situations. So, yeah.
I would say at least a couple of millimetres, at least.
Yeah.
Right, there you go. That's all we've got time for this week's GCN Tech Clinic. Hope we've helped you out. As always, if we haven't, get your questions in the comments section down below, and we'll pick it up in the coming weeks. See ya.
Love you. Bye.